So now that I'm logged into Gumball Club, now let's actually use it. So the first thing I need to do is get some Gumball Clubs. So again, this is a little bit of a toy sort of thing, but imagine you're in a store that has a bunch of different Gumball machines, and you need to have some tokens to stick in those machines to be able to get various kinds of candy. So we're just going to have a Gumball Club token dispenser. It's basically a little faucet that just spits out special little tokens. So I'm going to say, yep, I want to get tokens into, let's say, my first Babylon account, and there's a button here to send to the Radix wallet. So this is going to be my first transaction. And when I click this button, it's going to send that transaction to my wallet application to approve. And it looks like this. So if you've dug into the Radix technology, you know that we have a very special kind of transaction called a transaction manifest. We don't just do signed hashes of calls to smart contracts. We have this line-by-line description of what you as the user actually expect to happen. And what that allows us to do in the wallet is to summarize this in a really nice way. So this is a very simple transaction. What's going on here is I'm interacting with this Gumball Club dApp. It knows I'm basically calling this faucet component, which is part of the Gumball Club. And it identifies itself and verifies that it's part of the Gumball Club dApp, which is why you see that little using dApp section there. And really the result is just that I'm depositing 20 GC tokens, Gumball Club tokens, to my account. So that's exactly what I expected when I was on the web page. I see the same thing in my wallet. Cool, that sounds good. I know what the transaction fee is going to be, and I can go ahead and sign that transaction. So if I slide the sign, it does a quick verification. It's now submitting it to the Radix network, which is a little bit slow right now because it's on a test network. It's faster than this on mainnet. And there we go, successful transaction. And now the dApp webpage knows that that transaction completed successfully, and so it gives me a nice little success message. It says you received 20 Gumball Club tokens, and you can now take a look at those in your wallet. In fact, I can do that. If I tap on that first account, I can now see that, hey, I've now got 20 GC tokens, and I can look at a little bit of information about those tokens if I want. Cool. So let's use those tokens. Let's do a little bit more of an interesting transaction. Let's buy a Gumball. For those of you that have been following Radix for a long time, the Gumball Machine is kind of our classic example of, it's basically a toy version of a lot of things that you do in finance, where it's, there's an interaction here where I want to put some tokens into a smart contract, which is the Gumball Machine. And then I expect that Gumball Machine, I expect that smart contract to return some different token to me. It's a simple purchase transaction, basically. So we actually have a Scripto component that's deployed to this network that represents this Gumball Machine that knows how to accept GC tokens and spit back Gumball tokens. So I can use the UI here to interact with that smart contract, that component. So I pick one of these accounts. I'll pick that same account that I've got my tokens in. I can see that I've got that balance of 20 GC tokens. And as the price here says, it costs 2 GC tokens to buy 1 Gumball. So I'll put 2 in here. And I can see that the result is going to be 1 Gumball. Now that's what the web page tells me. It's telling me I'm going to get 1 Gumball back. And on other networks, that's basically all you get. When you submit the transaction, it's going to go to your wallet. The wallet's going to say, there's a transaction here. Here's the hash of it. Sign it. Hopefully you trust that smart contract. On Radix, we can do much better than that. So when I send this to my Radix wallet, once again, I get this nice summary of the transaction. And you can see what's actually going on. This isn't trusting the web page. This is actually reading the real transaction that's going to be submitted to the Radix network. So I can see that this transaction includes withdrawing from my account 2 GC tokens. That makes sense. I'm then going to interact with the Gumball Club application. This is the smart contract part of it. And ultimately, the result of this is going to be depositing 1 Gumball token back to my account. Once again, there's no trust involved here. This is just the wallet looking at what's about to submit the network and going, this is what's actually going to happen. You can rely on it. So, of course, this is exactly what I expected. The web page wasn't lying to me. This is what I wanted. And so, once again, I'll slide to sign this transaction. It'll submit it to the network. And there we go. So once again, if I go back into that account, you can see that I now have my Gumball token in there. Cool. Let's go into the candy machine. Now this one, you might say like, all right, I kind of get the point, you know, like we don't need to go through these machines. The thing about the candy machine, it's a little bit different. This is basically a toy DEX. So we've got a market price estimate here. It's not, you know, you don't get a fixed amount of candies for your GC tokens. It depends on the, you know, let's say it's like the price of sugar right now or something, and it varies based on market price. And so you get some number of candies back. So if I do a transaction with this one, and let's say that I put in, once again, let's say 2 GC tokens, I'm going to get an estimate for what the result of that is going to be. And right now it says at the market price, it's going to be 29 tokens, but it can't really tell me for sure what it's going to be because again, you know, the price of sugar might go up or down in that period of time before I submit the transaction, just like you'd find if you're doing a swap on a DEX. So let's send this transaction to my wallet, see what it looks like. So it's similar to the other transaction, but a little bit different. In this case, once again, 2 GC tokens are leaving my account. I'm interacting with the Gumball Club dApp. And in this case, I'm depositing an estimated 29 candy to my account. This is different than you saw before. It didn't show you a different number. And the reason for that is that in the transaction that the web page is built for me, it can't tell me how many it can deposit because it knows that there's this market price. When I submit it, it might be 29, it might be 30, it might be 28. It's impossible to say for sure. And the transaction manifest actually includes that. It knows that this is an indefinite amount that's being deposited. But one of the wonderful things about the transaction manifest is I can still protect myself. I can customize those guarantees and I can choose, I can say, you know what, even though this is an estimate, I really need to get 29 candies back. Like if I don't get 29, I'm not interested in this whole thing. 28 isn't enough for me and I want to cancel the whole thing. You can set this guaranteed percentage that sets that threshold you're comfortable with based on what you expect out of the thing. So, you know, maybe it's like, yeah, I understand there's a market price difference. I can put a 90% in here and say, yeah, I'm willing to accept even down to like 26.1 candies. That would be fine for me. As long as it's more than that, I'm fine with it. And I can apply that. So now I can see that estimate, I can see the guarantee that I've applied to it, and once again, I can sign the transaction. Now, before I do that, one thing I want to say about those guarantees, once again, this is not something that the dApp itself is providing. Gumball Club doesn't know anything about guarantees. It doesn't have like slippage protection built into its logic or anything like that. This is only in the wallet in the transaction manifest. The wallet is directly adding this guarantee to the manifest itself and saying, hey, Radix network, if this doesn't return at least 26 candies, please consider the transaction null and void. Don't process it. Regardless of what the dApp thinks about it, this is me expressing what I care about. That is really, really powerful, and it's not possible anywhere else. Okay, so let's go ahead and sign that transaction. Once again, submitting that to the network. And it's done. Oh, actually, you know what? I think it's not done. I think it might have actually failed. Yeah, look at that. The market price just went down to 12 candies. Ooh, sugar market is highly volatile. So actually, in this case, the guarantee just protected me. When it updated, I said, look, I need 26 candies. The market price apparently plummeted from the time that I was looking at the transaction, and the transaction failed. I don't have 12 candies in my account because that whole transaction was called off. So it worked. Without the dApp providing any of that protection, I was able to protect myself. So let me go ahead and do it again and say, like, all right, just to process it, let me do another transaction here. And this time I'm going to be real generous about my guarantees to make sure it goes through. It's like, I only need 5%. I don't care. Just give me whatever. As long as I get 1 back, I'm happy. Sign that transaction. There we go. Okay. So it says apparently in the end I got 24 candy, and I can go into my account and I can see that I've got those 24 candy. Cool. I'm going to do one last thing here to give you an idea of like what sort of other assets you can do, because one of the other things that we have on the Radix network that's quite unique is the idea of badges. A badge is basically, it's an asset, it's a token, but it's something that's used rather than being something that represents value, it represents your ability to authenticate to something. Just like a real badge, it's like having like an ID card in your real wallet where you can show it to someone and go, hey, this is who I am. I need to, you know, I can get into this club, or I can, you know, use Costco or whatever it is. So we can do that also on the Radix network. And so to show that off, we've got the GC member card machine that we can do. I can buy a member card, and that member card allows me to get a discount on the candy machines. So let me do that real quick. I'm going to buy myself a a GC. It costs 5 GC tokens. I'm going to go ahead and do that transaction. And there I can see that I am getting what I expect back. Sign it. And there we go. So now, if I go in my wallet to the NFTs section, I can see my Gumball Club member cards, and I can open this man up and say, okay, I can see that I have GC member card serial number 10. I've got apparently the 10th, I'm the 10th person to get a member card from the machine apparently in this deployment. And I can see the little key image. So, if you had, had an NFT that wanted to have an image, you can see that right there in the wallet. You don't need any special support because we have a metadata standard that allows you to actually see these things directly in the wallet. In fact, I can also just tap on it and see a little bit more information about it. I can see the ID, the name, maybe a description of it. All that stuff is built into the resource metadata right on the Radix network. It doesn't require special interpretation. It doesn't require special wallet support or dApp integration. We just know what's actually included on the resource. And we also didn't have to add that special NFT type to the wallet like you do on MetaMask to sort of tell it, hey, be aware that I might have some of this type of token. It just automatically sees it. And the reason for that is that our resources, our assets, are real things in your account. They're not just balances in a smart contract somewhere. So you're always going to see everything that's actually in your account at all times. You don't have to do anything manually. So I'll do one last transaction here to use that member card now that I've got it. Let me go back to the Gumball machine. Now you can see it can see that I own that member card. It's looking at my account and going, cool, you actually have one of those member cards, and it's telling me I'm going to get this discount. So now if I can just put in 1 GC token and get a Gumball, and if I send that to the wallet, you're going to see how that works. So now you can see there's the transaction I expect. 1 GC token leaving my account, 1 Gumball coming back. But now you can see at the bottom there's something new. It says presenting Gumball Club member card. What that means is that the actual transaction manifest I'm submitting to the network is we have this notion of presenting, of providing a proof that that resource is actually owned by my account. And that proof can be provided to the smart contract, to the component, and that's what allows me to get the discount. If I didn't actually have that resource, I would not be able to produce a proof of it, which means the smart contract would not provide me the discount on that purchase. So it's an on-ledger authentication that's very, very easy to use for developers, and it's very transparent to users where you can actually see when you're presenting a badge resource to do something like this. So I'll go ahead and sign to submit that transaction. It'll submit to the network. And that's it. So that's the Gumball Club. You can go check this out yourself. So when you get the Radix wallet, you can go there. We're going to have a little scheme set up so you can get a little bit of XRD, just enough to do some transactions. If you don't have some already, you'll be able to go through that yourself, see how it actually feels in the Radix wallet. And that same basic pattern of logging in, doing transactions, seeing what's going to happen, setting guarantees, all that kind of stuff is what you're going to see on every single dApp in the Radix ecosystem, which we think is going to give users a much greater sense of confidence in engaging in Web3 and DeFi than was ever possible before.